This is Matt Welch, Director of Technical Development with Profile Products here at the Dane County Landfill. With me today is Clay Frazer, Senior Ecologist at ERC. Today we're walking a site, I think it's 4 years later after the initial install, and we're seeing some great results.
It's been a great partnership. And again, there's a couple guys that might make it out even today to help walk around with us. That's Jay Sutterson from Sutter Tech, who helped plan this and work with the county. And he did a lot of the vegetation monitoring as we were moving through the process here. And then Kendall Kulik from Kulik Contracting, as you're aware, he did all the hydroseed shoots for us out here.
Absolutely.
And his guys were phenomenal to work with. So it's been a synergy with that team that we built, which is led to the success that we have right now.
Absolutely. With that, Clay, a little bit of background information on what really led us to this point. How did we get to where we are today?
Dane County really created a sustainability goal, Matt, for their closed landfill sites, probably almost 8 years ago or 6. And this was really the first pilot in the county that they wanted to test out and see how it was going to work.
Kind of what was the first step of the process in coming up with a plan like this to get native pollinator-friendly mixes installed and ultimately to successfully vegetate the site?
As you guys are well aware, Profile soils is the foundation that we build everything on that we do here vegetatively in the future.
Yeah.
And like most construction sites, we knew we had some pretty challenging soil conditions. Landfills are a little bit unique in the sense that they have a lot of really heavy soils, a lot of clay-based soils they need to use to cap the fill. And the topsoil that goes down is generally stockpiled, which, as you know, has got some serious quality issues biologically. Absolutely. It's stockpiled, and we just know that biological process begins to slow. So early on, the process was bringing in your team from Profile and helping us assess soil conditions, and it went beyond just the standard assays that we do for soil chemistry. We were looking closely at microbial process and organic matter percentages as well.
Right.
And we knew we had some challenges there.
Right. So I know they did have quite a few stockpiles available on site, so those were spread out. But as we typically see on this type of installation, the surface area when you build up a site like that greatly increases. So, getting that initial stockpile to spread out is evenly of 6-inch depth, whatever the specified number is, gets really tricky with the added amount of surface area on this type of site.
And it becomes an even greater challenge when we're trying to establish this type of native perennial vegetation, just because it takes a while for this stuff to get going.
Right.
One of the rules that is really applicable in restoration ecology is that if we have poor soil conditions, we're likely going to end up with a lot more invasive species, or just at least non-target species that are going to come into this herbaceously. So getting these things to establish and come in quick, along with the nurse crop that we put into it, was a key element. And the biotic soil technology and biotic soil medium products that we utilized here were really a key element early on.
Absolutely, yeah. So soil prep is one of the BMP's best management practices that can't go overlooked, right? You need to prepare that seed bed and really help out any of the products you're installing by increasing infiltration to your soils, less stormwater running off your site, making that moisture available for your plants, really critical stuff.
One of the things that's a challenge during the post-construction from a soil standpoint is when they grade the soils out, they tend to run their dozers up and down the hill, which creates this cat tracking in the wrong direction. Essentially, it creates, places where the soil, runs through. Because actually what they're doing, rather than going up and down, they're running perpendicular to the slope with those machines,
right?
Which creates these rivulets and places for concentrated water to flow through and create erosional conditions. So what Kendall's team at Kulik did was cat track in the right direction.
Yep.
They went up and down this thing, and then they also utilized equipment that created furrows in the soil that slowed that water as it moved through, the storm water, and it also allowed places for catchment of that product as it was hydraulically. Fortunately, our soil nutrient program was really based upon the foundation of that Proganics product that went in early on, and those plants to uptake that product slowly over time. And that if we add nitrogen fertilizer, particularly to native plant community systems, it tends to drive invasive or weedy type species. So we generally don't do that. We allow the soil conditions that we have to sustain the plants, and we're choosing those plants carefully based on those conditions.
Well, yeah, speaking back to the biological component, so we're at the full point now where we are very low maintenance from a fertility standpoint, letting it do what it's going to do, right? So introducing that concentrated biological activity along with some organic matter for those microbes to break down over time, really kickstarting that nutrient cycling process. And you can see the results here, just how that works and how effective it can be when executed seamlessly. So tell me a little bit about the maintenance program that you have currently how it progresses year over year. Obviously, not quite the mowing schedule with with this type of solution compared to a turf grass installation.
Right.
Fertilizers, herbicides, anything like that.
Like most native plant communities that go in from seed in reconstructions like this, it's a lot of mowing in those first couple of growing seasons. It's the right height, timing, and frequency of that cutting. We stay on top of that. That was part of our maintenance plan that we developed early on. But now into the third and fourth growing seasons, where we are right now, you'll see that the mowing is really pared back. In fact, we did very little even last year. We'll do even less this year, and it tends to be relegated to what we call spot treatments. So periodically we're moving through and using just line trimmers surgically to cut invasive species or aggressive weeds that we don't want to seed out and proliferate. And then we're also periodically using herbicides just with backpack sprayers in a very surgical approach to go after invasive species that are in here that are still persistent, things like bird's foot trefoil and crown vetch that are in small isolated spatial areas of the landfill.
So with that, I mean, I think we'll start walking the site a little bit, collect some additional soil samples. Let's see where that soil health is right now in comparison to 2018, just seeing how it's progressing.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's go for a hike.